it's gone. Brody Kostecki is the king of the mountain. He got it pulled up. He made that. He is now in 2024 the Repco Supercars Champion. And what a drive today.
Well, welcome back to our Summer Cooldown Season Review Series, brought to you by City Rural Insurance Brokers. Zach, we're at the finish line. Our final team. What a season for Triple Eight Race Engineering. We know them as Red Bull Ampol Racing as well, but 11 wins, over 30 podiums, 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship, a comfortable Teams' Championship win. I mean, outside of Bathurst, they won pretty much everything, but, you know, round of applause for Will Brown, a massive title win for him, but that was a hell of a season by those guys, wasn't it?
It turns out life without Shaman Gisberg, it isn't so bad after all, Paves. Wow, I was not expecting that, especially from Will Brown in particular, to come into a new team, perhaps a little bit of a question mark because, after all, he was a championship contender for most of last season until it fell away in the back end of the season. He was even leading the championship heading into the back half of the season, and then it all fell away, and his then teammate, Brody Kostecki, swooped and claimed his maiden title. But a lot of question marks because Shaman Gisberg, and I think we can all agree, he is one of, if not the best racing driver on the planet at the moment. And then for Will Brown to come out and just casually breaks a 40-year record of on his way to winning his maiden championship, I mean, what a season for him. We should also put in a word for Broc Feeney as well, because he had an equally brilliant season. 9 times out of 10, Broc Feeney's season would see him walking away with a championship trophy at the end of the year. It's just, unfortunately, his teammate, I mean, he did a historically good job this season, and as much as it's gonna sting for Broc for sure. I think he would have come into the season thinking, right, I've got a new teammate. I can lay down my territory. This is a team that I know. I might have the upper hand. I won't say should, might have the upper hand. And I mean, ultimately, I think Will Brown's come out and proven to a lot of the people that he genuinely is the real deal.
Yeah, you've got to feel for Broc in a way. Imagine ending a year with an average qualifying result of 4.83, an average race result of 5, and not winning the championship. I mean, that's almost unheard of, but the story of this year for those two guys, they were 1-2 in the championship, and probably rightfully so. The team made the fewest mistakes. But Will Brown's bad days were better than Broc Feeney's bad days, and that's ultimately where the championship was decided. You know, you look at the times where Brown, okay, he wasn't the fastest guy, Cam Waters or Chaz Moster or even Matt Payne, they were quick, but he's on the podium more often than not. I mean, we spoke about that 40-year record. I was trying to dig that out after Gold Coast. I was like, is this a thing? And I spoke to our mates at V8 Sleuth, and sure enough, they found it, they verified it, and it went everywhere when Will got that podium and then that win in Adelaide, which was cool to see because that's a true reflection of his performance. But for Broc, he'll probably look back and go, yeah, like my bad days probably cost me the year. But his good days, he was untouchable. I mean, that Saturday performance in Adelaide, all he had to do, all was asked of him, was to win that race, and he flogged them. But ultimately, unfortunately for Broc, Will was always just nagging away, making sure he got the next best result. And I think that's where Will won the championship, because Will didn't win more races than Broc. Broc won more races, took more poles, but Will was constantly on the podium, 19 podiums in 24 starts. And if you're pulling up numbers like that, you're probably going to win the championship more often than not. The head-to-heads, I mean, it probably tells the story of the season as well. I mean, Broc led in qualifying, Will led in the races. It wasn't blowouts for either by any means, but yeah, I think you've just got to dip your hat to Broc and Will, because they both went really well, but it was a guy that was a little bit better at the clutch moments that brought it home.
I mean, Will did to Broc what Triple Eight did to just about every other team in the teams fight even. You look at what Will did, and he punished any and all of Broc's mistakes on his bad days. And Triple Eight, they punished any and all of basically every other team that was in Teams Championship contention. They punished all of their mistakes throughout the course of the year. And I mean, you look at the gap in the Teams Championship at the end of the year, and Triple Eight are head and shoulders clear of Tickford NWAU. So, I mean, what a season they've had. They've been the benchmark in supercars for, well, going on 2 decades now. And I mean, there's a reason for it. They're just so uber professional with everything they do. I mean, what more can you say about them that hasn't already been said, really?
Before we get into too much detail, Zach, let's get a message from our partners. Our season reviews are proudly sponsored by City Rural Insurance Brokers. City Rural, a subsidiary of the Cowden Group of companies, has over 50 years' experience supporting their clients. They offer a range of specialist insurance from heavy industry to food trucks. They are your insurance pit crew. Head to cityrural.au. Yeah, it's a fascinating story to see them be at the top for so long. You think of footy codes or cricket or any other sport. If you're at the top for 20 plus years, you'll go down as the all-time great. I mean, you have to, right? That's a long time at a professional level in the modern era. And for this team to keep producing these amazing drivers and give them time, I think Jamie Whincup said right at the start when he retired and Broc Feeney came in, I've got to give this guy at least 2 years to see what he's capable of. In 2 years, Broc won an Adelaide 500. He won Sandown 500. This year he was winning races for fun. But when he wasn't winning races, he wasn't in contention. And I think that's the thing that they're going to want to fix for next year, because will prove more often than not that, okay, if I'm not the fastest, I can be the next best. And sometimes that's good enough to win a championship. Quite extraordinary that Andrew Edwards, who engineered Shane Van Gisbergen to great success, formerly of Brad Jones Racing as well, he said, Will got in the car at the pre-season test in February. I knew we could win the championship. And Will was pretty outspoken in the way that, you know, if we don't win the championship this year, it's my fault. I dip my hat to that as well, because that takes guts to say, I know the team can do the job. If I don't do the job, then that's on me. So how that plays out next year with the finals, it'll be interesting, because ultimately when Will was 180 points ahead going to Adelaide, there was a little bit of comfort. He didn't want to touch the trophy, neither did Broc, superstition there, but he had that buffer. He was able to sort of just get the result he could in the Saturday race, cruise around on Sunday, even though he got turned to the back and passed a million cars. But that's going to be one of the stories of next year, I think, Zach, is how does Triple Eight manage this? Because it's going to go to the next level with the finals, with the Enduros playing a key role as well. How these guys are going to race through Gold Coast, Sandown, Adelaide, if they're both in the top four. There has to be some sort of contact. There has to be some sort of no inch given. And how they manage that, it's going to be tough for Triple Eight, I think. I mean,
we got our first real glimpse of that at Taupo on the Sunday, where it was Broc v Will for the race win, and it was a very clean yet very hard-fought battle for the win, which ultimately Will got the upper hand, and that was a real sort of statement victory early in the season of I'm the guy to catch. And we sort of never really saw it boil over at any point throughout the year, which is remarkable in its own right, because they are two extremely hard races, and they're young, they're ambitious, they want glory, and I mean, at the end of the day, they're in the best place for it. There's no two ways about it. So that's very interesting. And I mean, with Will wrapping up the title on the Saturday in Adelaide, that gave Triple Eight sort of an ability to use Sunday as a grand final in its own right. And we saw the way Broc drove on Sunday. He was not leaving anything on the table. And I mean, meanwhile, Will Brown, a little bit further back, also not leaving anything on the table. So, I mean, if that was a sneak preview of what we can expect next year, especially at the Adelaide Grand Final, that's going to be super exciting to watch. And, I mean, it'd be a very big surprise if there aren't two Triple Eight cars amongst that championship four at Adelaide. But you never know. That's the beauty of this final series. You can have one bad weekend. You can even have one bad race, and it brings your whole season undone. So it's going to be super interesting. And, I mean, I spoke to Jamie Whincup at the launch of the finals series in Bathurst about how he would treat a scenario where it's the two Red Bulls nose to tail, whoever finishes ahead wins the championship. And he said, they're races. They can have at it. We trust them. So that's a big vote of confidence to have as a team boss, when you can trust your drivers that much to not run into each other or put each other out and into the wall, especially at Adelaide.
I love what Jamie said after Adelaide. He's like, I hope Broc is hurting from this, because it means that Broc, he already had a lot to play for next year, a lot of redemption. Last year didn't go to plan in the championship, this year as well, being beaten by a guy who had just arrived at the team. But for Jamie to say defeat is going to make Broc Feeney is going to be really cool to see, because Broc's going to come out swinging, no doubt about that. But then Will's got the number one on his car as well. So they've both got a lot to play for. Ultimately, Triple Eight's a team that doesn't like to look over its shoulder, because, like Dick Johnson once said, all you get is a sore neck. So, yeah, I'm really fascinated by this battle for next year, how it unfolded this year. It was pretty gentlemanly, and they're good mates. I mean, you can't put hyperbole on things. They are good mates. Like, I followed them into the track in Adelaide one day, just joking and laughing and having a great time. These guys are fighting for the biggest prize in Australian motorsport. So Triple Eight will have a big job on their hands trying to keep them on that path, because if they're happy, they're going to be fast. So I'm really fascinated by it.
I mean, there's a reason why Broc Feeney is driving the 88 car at Triple Eight Race Engineering. He was the guy chosen to replace Jamie Whincup. That is massive praise on extremely young shoulders at the time. And I mean, within 12 months, he was an Adelaide 500 winner. So the guy has the potential. He dominated Super 2 the year he won it in 2021. He was running the car number 888 in that year. I mean, that was a pretty clear sign straight away that Triple Eight had found their successor to Jamie Whincup, and Broc Feeney still is that successor to Jamie Whincup. As much as he hasn't got a championship win or a Bathurst to prove it yet, I mean, age is still very much on his side, and this could be the best thing that has ever happened to Broc Feeney, getting beaten in a head-to-head fight. He hasn't had that chance to fight for a championship yet. Shane Van Gisbergen has been the number one's maybe not the word to use, but he has been the clear leader of that team. Now with Will Brown's come in, he had a chance to, I guess, re-establish himself as that team leader, and Will's come in and done an exceptionally good job. So, but we go to Sydney next year, everyone's on a clean slate once again, aren't they? As much as Will's going to have the number one sticker on his windows next year, Broc's going to be sitting alongside him in the garage all year, and he's going to see that number one on the other car. That's going to make him extremely hungry to swap those stickers over onto his car at the end of the season.
Well, Zach, I'll see you in Sydney. I'm so excited for next year. Early tips, predictions, or we'll just keep it close to our chest for now?
Oh boy. I can't possibly predict. It's going to be very exciting next year. A lot of changes coming our way that are going to be super exciting for the sport. And I mean, I just can't wait for the end of the year already to see how this final series work. It's going to be really, really interesting to watch.
Well, make sure you're trackside or watching from anywhere around the world, SuperView, TV, what have you. It's going to be a massive 2025 Repco Supercars Championship. Zach Dowdle, thanks for your time, mate.
No, thank you, Paves. Pleasure to be on.
So that brings an end to our summer cooldown season review, proudly brought to you by City Rural Insurance Brokers. Until then, see you in Sydney.